So we are today we are discussing the feast of first fruit, the feast of the first fruit, which we see in Leviticus 23 from verse 10. So my brothers, let me just share the screen and put it up, and I'll be muted in the meantime. So you got it, Azariah?
Oh, sorry, I was speaking and it was still on mute. Yeah, you want me to read from 10 to 17 or beyond that? Elias?
Sorry, his thing is taking a little bit. You can read from 10 if you go, yeah, specifically for this feast. The part
Yeah,
that
so I was
speaks
asking
specifically to this feast.
if you want me to stop at 17 or go beyond.
Um, you could go beyond once the feast goes beyond.
All right. So reading from this is Leviticus chapter 23 and starting from verse 10. Speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, when you come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yah to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. And you shall offer that day, when you wave the sheaf, a he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto Yah. Verse 13. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yah for a sweet savor or a sweet aroma, and the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the fourth part of a hin. And you shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that you have brought an offering unto your Elohim. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Verse 15, and you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall you number 50 days. Let me read that again. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall you number 50 days, and you shall offer a new meat offering unto Yah. Verse 17, you shall bring out of your habitation, excuse me, 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baked with leaven. They are the first fruits unto Yah. And you shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto Yah, with their meat offering and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto Yah. Verse 19. Then you shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. Verse 20, and the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yah. With the 2 lambs, they shall be holy to Yah or the priest. And you shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be a holy convocation unto you. You shall do no servile work therein. So it's a Sabbath. You shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not make clean riddance of the corners of your field when you reap, or don't strip the field bare of everything. Leave back something. You shall not make clean riddance of the corners of your field when you reap, neither shall you gather any gleaning of your harvest. You shall leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am Yah, your Elohim. And Yah spoke unto Moses, saying, okay, so I think we can stop.
Yeah, you can start. You can hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know where this is still showing me it's mute. But yeah, thank you, brother. So we see some fundamental points here. So let's start at verse 10, where it actually started. So it says, Speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, When ye become into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruit of your harvest unto the priest. So we can pause there. So let's break down this verse 10. So it says here, when you come into the land, you are supposed to do these things, and you shall reap the harvest thereof, and you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruit of the harvest to the priest. So what I would ask here then, are we in the land today?
No, we're not in the land today.
Precisely. So clearly we're not in the land. So we are not, we don't have our crops. But another fundamental part. Another fundamental part of this is the priest. So you're supposed to give this harvest of the first fruit on to the priest. We don't have the priest today either. So this part of it is impossible for us to keep it the way it is written in Leviticus 23. So any thoughts on that, brothers?
Yeah, this was supposed to be done in the land, as you mentioned. So we're not in the land at this moment. So we just have to just observe it like a Sabbath. You know, just no work and all of this, which we did, which we're doing now today. It's like us, well, would have it as a high Sabbath, you know, but not for work.
Yes. Indeed. A couple years ago, I was observing this feast with some people. And there was a woman among us at the time who took me to task for not waving the sheaf. And I let her know that, look, I am not a priest. Right? We can't just swap out the ordinances that the Most High gives us, right? We are to do exactly as he says, and we know the precepts, related to that. Deuteronomy 4 and 2, Deuteronomy 12 and 32, it's the same thing in Revelation 22, verses 18 to 19, not to add anything to what the Most High says or to take away anything from it, but we're to do exactly. We see the same thing in Proverbs chapter 30 and 6 as well. Right? So the ordinance calls for the priest to carry out certain actions. And no one can substitute the work of the priest. We see what happens when a man steps into the place of a priest to carry out the office of the priest. The Most High will kill him. And even if a priest does something that the Most High does not instruct him to do concerning certain ordinances, the Most High will kill that priest. We see that happen with Aaron's two eldest sons. Right? We see that happen with Aaron's two eldest sons. We see it happening with Eli's sons. Right? And we see the judgment upon Eli for that. So yes, we can just only observe the feast at this time in a spiritual manner, just to mark it that it is still to be kept until like what we're doing now. This is how we observe it at this time, because we're not in the land. We're not in the land, and we don't have. We are not priests. Priesthood has basically been replaced at this time. But without saying too much, Elias, back over to you. I can continue.
Yes. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear it clearly.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So let's go from verse 11. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yah. So this is the priest to be accepted for you. So this priest is waving this sheaf on your behalf unto the Most High. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. So here we have a time frame. The morrow after the Sabbath, so the next day after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave this sheaf on your behalf unto the Most High. Verse 12. And ye shall offer that day when he wave the sheaf a he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto Yah. 13. And a meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deal of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yah for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, a fourth part of a hin. So we see sacrifices being made here. So let me ask this question, brothers. Can we sacrifice if we're not in the line?
Not according to the law, bro. All sacrifices are to be done in the place where the Most High has chosen to place his name. There we find that in 2 Kings chapter 17. I think in Zechariah chapter 2, can't remember the actual passages, but no sacrifices can be conducted outside of Jerusalem.
So then it's pretty clear then that today we can't keep this part of it either. So again, there's another part of it that we clearly cannot keep and observe this day because we are not in the land and it will be unlawful for us. We will be actually breaking the law of the Most High if we try to keep this part and sacrifice a lamb and so forth to keep this part of this law. So verse 14, and ye shall eat neither bread nor parched corn nor green ears until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your Elohim. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. So let me pause there. Let me ask you, brothers, what does that mean?
The feast is still to be observed, whether we're in Jerusalem or not. We just need to pay attention to the ordinances because we're not in Jerusalem now, right? We're not in Jerusalem now. When Moses wrote this, Israel was still in the wilderness, right? None of them. They were all Israelite strangers born in Egypt. Every single one of them were born in Egypt. So they were Israelite strangers, age 16 strangers that we say, that we have discussed already. But the most I say, regardless of where we are, whether in captivity in Babylon or whatever, we're still to mark these dates, even though we're not able to carry it out with perfection. With the sacrifices and with the functions of the priests, we're still to remember it, to keep it in our minds, to keep it in our hearts, and to mark the time, which is what we are doing now, being in captivity. The three of us are actually in 3 different countries at this time in various parts of Babylon. And this is why we're coming together this evening at this time to mark this holy day, exactly as the Most High commanded us to do it in verse 14.
Yes. So we are required to keep this statue forever throughout all our generations. So as long as Israel is still on the earth, this feast is supposed to be kept. And throughout all your dwellings. So wherever you dwell in Babylon, wherever you dwell as an Israelite, you are supposed to keep this feast. So verse 15, and ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye bought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. So here we have in a time frame. So when you bring the sheaf to the priest and he wave it to the Most High on your behalf, then it says here, and you shall count after you. So you shall, and ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye bought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbath shall be completed. So from that day, the priest wave that sheaf for you, 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. Even unto the morrow after the seventh Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer new meat offering unto Yah. So this is because most people now having very much difficulties finding the day of this feast. So those who keep Friday evening sundown, Saturday evening sundown, they are going to tell you if you follow a lunar calendar, you cannot go right in this feast because you cannot number seven Sabbaths. And that baffles me because numbering 7 Sabbaths is as easy as 1 Sabbath, 2 Sabbaths, 3 Sabbaths. So that really baffles me. But here is a time frame. 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. And then it says, even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto Yah. So we see here in verse 13, we tell you number 7 Sabbaths after the day you wave the sheaf. So we wave the sheaf the day after the Sabbath, and then you number 7 Sabbaths after that. But it does not end there. Then even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath. So after you number these 7 Sabbaths, now you got to count 50 days. Am I misunderstanding this, brothers? Tell me what you see.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong, right? What I'm trying to pinpoint when it says that the day after the Sabbath, my understanding is that the last day after the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that last day would be a Sabbath. So we number what? 7 Sabbaths from the end of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Reading from verse 10, reading from verse 8. I'm just trying to find a point of reference, right, from which we count those 7 Sabbaths in verse 15 and 16. So tell me where's the starting point, because that is the only Sabbath that I can really pick up on, because verse 10 is speaking about from the time when we enter the land that, the harvest comes in and we reap the harvest and bring the first fruits onto the priest. But give me your thoughts on that, though. From which Sabbath do we count to come to those 7 Sabbaths being passed before we count another 7 Sabbaths, which would be 7 Sabbaths and 1 day in verse 16, So it seems to me that 100 days would pass between the end of the Feast of Unleavened Bread to the observation of the Feast of First Fruits. But you can't help me to understand that.
No, we got to remember, this was a statute given to Moses, because Moses also kept this feast while they were in the wilderness. But here in Leviticus 23, the Most High gave Moses this new instruction. When you come into the land, this is how I want you to keep this feast. So he tell you what to do, and then he gives you the time. So to answer your question, the last day of unleavened bread is a Sabbath. The next day, so that is the day after the Sabbath, you will bring your sheaf unto the priest, and he will wave it to the Most High on your behalf. And as we know, the next day is a Sabbath after that day. So then that becomes Sabbath number 1. So you number 7 Sabbaths, and then when you get to the end of the 7 Sabbaths, as it says here, even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath. So when you get to the 7th Sabbath, then the next day you start numbering 50 days. Then, so this is the instruction that is given here on how the Most High want this feast to be kept. Then we go into the land. But we would expound on how it was kept before this and when it was kept before this, because this was kept before Israel kept it in the land. This feast was being kept for a very long time. So we would expound on that as we go through. So that answer your question, Ezra?
I'm not sure. Let me just ask you a couple more questions, and then so you're saying that from the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is a Sabbath, from the day after, the day following, that Sabbath that will close over the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that's where we start to count from?
That Sabbath, remember, the Sabbath, the day after the Sabbath, you got to bring the sheaf to be waved by the priest. Right? So the day after the Sabbath, so the last day of unleavened bread is a Sabbath. The next day, you bring your sheaf to the priest, and he waved it to the Most High on your behalf. So that day between there, because remember, you eat unleavened bread, and you feed on the 8th day is a Sabbath. Correct? You hear me, Azra? You guys hear me?
Yeah, man. I guess him having
Oh,
sorry,
you probably
having
having,
trouble.
or you probably get knocked out. Yeah, you probably got knocked out.
Yeah,
And
I
we are
was
not
gonna
able to
say
pause these
that.
recordings.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's kind of confusing, and I think that this is why. I mean, trying to count 50 days. It's when I think about it, it's easier when you say the middle of the 3rd month. You know.
Yes, it is easier.
Yes,
But
it is easier.
the Most High did not require it to be done in the middle of the 3rd month when they come into the line.
Right. Yeah, but we're not in the land, so we're trying to prove that wherever you are, that you know, this is how they do it in the land, yes.
Yes.
And then now, this is the way it was done in the land. So, and I think that's why it's so confusing. like trying to see if it was after which part of where is the starting point? Where is the starting point from after the way of the sheaf offering? The sheaf, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
No, we got to remember to Canaan. Today, we cannot wave a sheaf. We don't have the
correct,
priest.
correct.
So
yes.
this does not apply to us today.
Right,
The feast
and that's why
still applies.
yes. I
But
think
this
that's
part
why
of
it's so
it,
difficult to figure out.
yes,
Understand?
correct.
Yeah.
So this part of it does
Mm.
not apply to us today.
Correct. Yes, totally agree. And that's why I mentioned that it's easier to do it in the middle. Well, we're gonna get there, right? So
Yeah, we're gonna get
we
there.
have the
And
proof there.
why would you do it in the middle of the third month?
Right.
Because as I said,
we're gonna see, yeah.
this feast was observed before Moses was given Leviticus 23.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to understand this feast was observed before and when was it observed.
Right.
That is the important part of it, because it was observed before they got into the land. Leviticus 23 from verse 10, it says, when you come into the land, this is how I want you to do it. So now we have read all of this and realized we cannot do this because we are not in the land.
Babylon,
We cannot sacrifice. We don't have a priest to wave the sheaf. So we cannot do the count because the priest, all of that is part of the count. So if none of that can happen, we cannot do the count.
No.
That's the important part of this.
And that's the struggle right here. That is the struggle right here.
So we got brothers out there that stick into the count. Oh, you must count.
Yes.
We cannot count. The count no longer applies to us.
Very, very confusing.
Because the count is, here's Azariah back. Yes, Azariah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Power cut again.
Oh. No problem. Got you covered. Yeah. Right, so go ahead and ask what you were asking, Azariah.
Yeah, I just wanted confirmation as to whether the count for the 7 Sabbaths mentioned in verse 15. I just wanted to ascertain that the starting point for that count would be the day after the Sabbath that closes out the Feast of Unleavened Bread. If we start to count from that point to get the 7th Sabbath.
Yes, when our ancestors got in the land, they would have counted from that point. Excellent. But what I was explaining here to Canaan just now, when you had the power cut, the count no longer applies to us because part of the count was the priest waving the sheaf. We don't have the priest, we can't wave the sheaf. And as we know from the very beginning, he said, when you get into the land. So we are not in the land, we don't have the priest, we can't wave the sheaf, so we cannot count. So the count no longer applies to us right now because it's impossible for us, for a priest to wave a sheaf, than for us to count. So that count no longer applies to us. And as I was saying, it's important for us to understand that this feast was kept before Israel got into the land. And more importantly, when was it kept? What date was it kept? How was it kept before this instruction came in Leviticus 23 of when you go into the land, you must do it this way.
Okay, so we revert to the ordinances that existed before in order to observe it, and not according to what is written here in Leviticus chapter 23 because of the problems that we would have. That's what you're saying? We'll go back to the old ordinances?
Yes. So we know for sure it was kept before. We know Noah kept it. We know Abraham kept it. We know Moses kept it before. Yeah. We know Moses didn't even go into the land. So Moses kept it. So when, where, and how did they keep it? Because Leviticus 23 is very specific. When you go into the land and you harvest the fruit of the land. So everything in Leviticus 23 is tied to the land. Then you give the priest the sheaf, which comes from the land, and he waves it, and then you count 7 Sabbaths after he wave it to the Most High on your behalf. None of this can be done. So if we don't have the priest who can wave the sheaf, then we cannot count. All of this is attached to the land and to the priest. We have neither of the two today. So we cannot, count does not apply to us today. So we have to go now and search the scriptures to find out when and how it was kept before Israel got into the land.
Okay, got you. Yeah, man. I got you, Elias.
So you want to pick this back up then, or let me see. No, it wasn't finished as yet. So that was, let me go from verse 14, and it reads, even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto Yah. Ye shall bring out of your habitation 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. 1 second. With leaven. They are the first fruit unto Yah. And ye shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto Yah, with their meat offering and their drink offering, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto Yah. So here we see again, this is another one we can't do. We cannot do this today. Verse 19. Then ye shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruit for a wave offering before Yah. With the 2 lambs they shall be holy to Yah for the priest. Give me 1 second. Sorry, it was muted. I had to come back and unmute it. So, verse 21. And ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be an holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. So here we have it. This part we can do. A holy convocation, do no servile work. So definitely this part we can accomplish. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. So again, as long as there's Israel upon this earth, we are supposed to keep a holy convocation to this feast and do no work on the day that we observe this feast. So yeah, we could stop there.
No.
So anything else to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, holy convocation, no sacrifice. We cannot sacrifice as maybe some of our, I don't want to judge because, but I know that people, you know, because as I mentioned earlier, that the sister wanted to weave the to weave the sheaf, right? She was saying weave it, but he's not a priest. But I know that we have, you know, brothers that maybe, you know, sacrificing, and it clearly says, you know, clearly see that this is when we were in the land that we're supposed to do all these things. When you have the priest and the whole setup, now we're all over the place. You know, we're breaking into different camps and all of this in Babylon. So it's impossible, as I mentioned also, it's impossible to keep this feast. I mean, to make all these sacrifices, but we definitely have to observe, you know, as a holy convocation, just like is a high Sabbath. So we must observe it. We just cannot sacrifice. Let's see Azariah jump out again.
Oh, wow. I guess he's having some very serious problems here with the blackouts. But yeah, so we definitely, as you see, as long as Israel is alive, we must keep the feast. But we cannot keep the feast, as we read it here in Leviticus 23. Main point, this feast, how it is read here, how the Most High told Moses to do it this way when you go into the land. And we are no longer in the land. So we know it's forbidden to sacrifice if you're not in the land. So that was a law given.
Yes. Yes.
So we cannot keep that part of it either.
No.
So, and as we know, today we don't have the priest. We don't have a clue who the Levites are. Despite some brothers are going to say, I'm from the tribe of Levite, I'm from the tribe of Benjamin.
Maybe we don't, brother. Maybe we don't, but you know, yeah, but the brothers out there that saying this group is this and group is that, which, you know, you cannot do that. You know, you should be doing that.
No, you shouldn't. Because to say that the Haitians are the Levites means that when the Hamites caught our ancestors and took them on the ship, they said that all who are from the tribe of Levite come over here, all who from the tribe of Benjamin go over there. So Levite, you're going to board this ship. Benjamin, you're going to board this other ship. No, that's not how it was done. They didn't care
when you're
what
grabbing
tribe you're
people,
from.
no, once you're grabbing people, you're not gonna ask question. You know what I mean? You grab once you go to pick up people, you're gonna just grab and go. So you okay, you're Levite. Okay, you come over here. You're Hamite. No. That's not. So these guys going around telling people how you know, this tribe is this tribe. This is this tribe in Jamaica. This is this tribe in Haiti. This is this tribe in America. You know, it's very misleading.
Yes, very misleading. So today we really don't know who tribe or what tribe we are from, but eventually that will be sorted out. We would eventually know what tribe we are from, just as now we
I will know we are
understand that.
Israelite. That's it.
Yes.
We just know that
So
we're
how we,
Israelite. That's it. Azura, you're back.
so how we,
Yes.
Azura.
Yeah, man, that's a fifth time now, brother.
Yeah. But I hope this is the last one.
I hope so, no, but as I said, I don't know what's happening this evening, but that's the fifth time now it went, you know. Yeah, so what were you discussing a while ago?
Well, we're just going back over the speaking.
Huh?
We were just discussing about the tribes and stuff until you return. In terms of, we were saying that we can't keep it, obviously, because we don't have the priests, and we don't even know who the priests are today, despite some brothers out there saying that they are from the tribe of Levi and they are from the tribe of Judah, when really we don't know, because it's impossible for us to tell what tribe we are from. So we know the brothers will say, well, Haiti, the brothers in Haiti days are the Levites and stuff, like they were separated before they went on the ship, and all the Levites went on one ship and all the Benjamites went on another ship. No. So it's impossible for us today to right now as it is. But as I said, a time is coming when we definitely are going to know our tribes and everything. So right now, we don't have the priests. We don't even have a clue who the priests are. We don't have a clue who the Levites are, I should say. So we don't have the priests. So we definitely cannot observe it how we see it in Leviticus 23. Anything else before we go to Exodus?
No, anyway.
Okay, then so Exodus 23 as well, yeah.
All right, so Exodus 23, and we're reading from verse 14. Wait, please, hold on. Where do you want to read from? From verse 17?
Verse
Or from
17. You could go from verse 14. Go on 14.
All right, Exodus 23 and 14. 3 times you shall keep a feast unto me in the year. This is Moses speaking to Moses, right? Verse 15. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread. You shall eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded you, in the time appointed of the month Abib. For in it you came out from Egypt. None shall appear before me empty. Verse 16. And the feast of harvest, let me read it again. Verse 16. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of your labors, which you have sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when you have gathered in your labors out of the field. Full stop. 3 times in the year, verse 17, 3 times in the year, all your males shall appear before Yah Elohim. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifices with unleavened bread. Neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. Verse 19. The first of the first fruits of your land you shall bring into the house of Yah your Elohim. You shall not seethe or boil a kid his mother's milk. Now we're ending there. Yeah, unmute Elias.
I don't know where this is not on muting when I go on the screen. Right. So we see here, Moses is telling us again about the feast of first fruits. So all of this again, this is tied to the land. This is the Moses speaking to Moses about when we get into the land 3 times a year. The Israelite men should appear unto him. So this is basically what we discussed from Leviticus 23. Moses is telling Moses about the feast appearing before him 3 times a year. He's telling about the first fruit, telling him about the feast of unleavened bread, and so forth. So this is pretty much attached to Leviticus 23 of when we get into the land, how we should do it when we are in the land. So, Kana.
Yes. Yes, brother.
So let's go into the book of
Jubilees. So we would start with Jubilees 6. So that's gonna show you how.
Right. So let me mute my mic and here go ahead.
Right. So Jubilee 6. Hold on, let's see. Right, Jubilee 6 and from verse 17.
17, right? Yes.
Right, so from verse 17. Let me just see 16. Okay, so verse 17. For this reason, it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. So pretty much here, this is to renew, once a year. For it is written, this is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets. So what that mean? Does this mean it's a law? If it's written on the heavenly tablet, it is.
Most definitely it's a law, yeah.
Yes, it is a law.
Right. So this is a law. It is written on the heavenly tablet, and anything written on the heavenly tablet, that is law. So once we celebrate the Feast of Weeks in this month, once a year, to renew the covenant every year. So this is a must. This is what we have to do as law keepers. We cannot overlook, we cannot sacrifice, we just have to observe these once a year. Verse 18, and this whole festival was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation till the days of Noah. 26 jubilees and 5 weeks of years. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 jubilees and one week of year, till the days of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death, his sons did away with it until the days of Abraham, and they eat blood. So this verse 18 here, you see how after Noah's death, what happened? The very thing that we're asked not to do, that's what we started doing. That's what our ancestors started doing. They started to defile. They didn't keep this ordinance. So now, what happens when they don't keep something, and the next generation come? We forget about it. We don't know nothing about it. So we're not gonna observe it, and we find ourselves in that category today. So verse 19, but Abraham observed it, and Isaac and Jacob, his sons, Isaac and Jacob observed it up to the days, and in your days. Let me read that over again. But Abraham observed it, and Isaac and Jacob and his children observed it up to your days, and in the day the children of Israel forgot it, until you celebrated it anew on this mount. So we celebrated anew. So how did we? Because you know what happened with Noah after Noah's death. So Abraham celebrated. How? The question is how Abraham celebrated it. How did he find out about this?
Well, he would have found out about it from Noah. As you
Oh
said, it
yes,
was
because he was at
celebrated
Noah.
by,
Yes, yes, he
yes.
was with
So
Noah.
he would have
Yes,
found out about it from
right.
Noah. So
Yes.
Isaac kept it, Jacob kept it, and his
Mm-hmm.
sons, or the 12 tribes, they kept it. But it
Yes.
was forgotten. So somewhere between the 12 sons being in Egypt, and this will, because remember, this is when they came out of Egypt. So this is when there was a mount. So he's telling them, Israel forgot it until ye, meaning you, Moses, celebrate it
Right.
anew on this mount. So it was celebrated now on the mount where they are, is being celebrated there now, and this is before they got into the land.
Yes. So that was on the mount when they celebrated anew. Verse 20. Oh, we could stop on 19 there. So yeah, we could read verse 20. And do you command the children of Israel to observe this festival in all their generations for a commandment unto them, one day in the year, in this month they shall celebrate the festival.
Good.
Verse
So
21,
let me pause
yeah,
here for a second
yes.
before you go to 21. So he
Mhm.
said, and do thou command the children of Israel to observe this festival in all their generations
So
for
it's a
a
commandment, yes.
commandment unto
Mhm.
them. One day in the year, in this month. So what month was this? They shall celebrate the festival.
Right, so this would be it's the middle of the third month still.
So let's go on 21. You could go ahead.
For 21, for it is the feast of weeks and the feast of first fruit. This feast is twofold and of a double nature, according to what is written and engraven concerning it. Celebrate it. For I have written in the book of the first law, in that which I have written for you, that you should celebrate it in its season, one day in the year. And I explained to you its sacrifices, that the children of Israel should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generations. It in this month, one day in every year. Yeah, so we could stop there. So this is
Okay.
this 20, this what 21, written and engraving. 1 to 20. So I have
So
written in
go
the
to verse
book.
1, brother.
Verse what?
Go to verse 1 for
Okay.
verse 1. Go to verse
Verse
1.
1. Verse 1. And on the new moon of the third month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on that mount.
All right, this was talking about Noah. I was trying to identify the month because he said in this month. So
Right.
let me look for it quickly. So go ahead. It was talking about verse 21.
All right, let me go back down there. So there's twofold here. It says, for it is the feast of weeks and the feast of first fruits. This feast is twofold and of a double nature, according to what is written and engraven concerning it. So this twofold here. Can we break down this 21 here?
All right, give me 1 second. Let me go to 21 and come back to 11. So verse 21 it says, "For it is the feast of weeks and the feast of first fruits. This feast is twofold and of a double nature, according to what is written and engraven concerning it. Celebrate it." So he's telling you here that this feast of first fruit, we also celebrate the feast of weeks. So this day that we celebrate the first fruits is actually a double feast, is dual in nature. So the feast of weeks and the feast of first fruits, it basically is the same day. So this day is a double feast, basically, is what he's saying.
Oh, my mic was up. Yes, 2 in 1. Yes, 2 in 1 for the fruits and the weeks. So twofold. What was you looking for? What we're looking for, Elias? Because
No, we're just going to identify the month, which is in the third month.
All right, so let's see in 22 then.
Yeah, I was looking for it here, but let's go to Jubilees 22. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to 22.
Go ahead. Yeah. You still with us, Azariah?
Yes, I'm still here.
Um, 22 from verse 1.
From verse 1?
Yeah. Yeah. 22 from verse 1. And it came to pass in the first week, in the 44th Jubilee, in the second year, that is the year in which Abraham died, that Isaac and Ishmael came from the well of the oath to celebrate the Feast of Weeks, that is the feast of the first fruit of the harvest to Abraham, their father. And Abraham rejoiced because his two sons had come. So verse 2, for Isaac had many possessions in Beersheba, and Isaac was wont to go and see the possessions and to return to his father. And in those days Ishmael came to see his father, and they both came together, and Isaac offered a sacrifice for a burnt offering and presented it unto the altar of his father, which he had made in Hebron. So where was this here? Because it says in Hebron, but this was not in the land. And on those days Ishmael came to see his father, and they both came together, and Isaac offered a sacrifice. Isaac offered a sacrifice for a burnt offering and presented it unto the altar of his father. So his father had an altar, and he presented on that altar which he had made in Hebron. So can we read on this verse 3 here? Because this was in the time of that feast.
Remember, Noah also sacrificed when he did this feast. Abraham also sacrificed when he did this feast. So we know today we are not supposed to sacrifice outside the place where the Most High's name is, which is in Zion, Jerusalem. We see Abraham, we see Noah sacrifice, but what we don't see, where is Hebron? But Azariah, could you help us here? Where did Abraham die?
Right, because
Well, we know that he died in the land of Canaan. He had bought a cave when Sarah died. He was buried in the same. I think he was buried in the same cave in which Sarah was buried.
yeah, in Machpelah,
Yes.
yes.
So he
He had.
died in the land of Canaan, correct?
Yes.
So where is the land of Canaan?
That's
Anyway.
his.
Pardon?
We didn't hear earlier. Azariah.
No, what you mean? What you mean? Where's the land of Canaan? What you're referring to
Or
Israel?
what is known as it? Yes.
Huh?
The land of Canaan is actually Israel, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It,
Yes.
it was
That's why
known. It
I
was
was
known
spoke
as the
a
land
while
of
ago.
Canaan.
That is why I
Yeah.
was spoke a while ago when you asked. It seemed like a strange question.
Yeah, because I'm wondering where is Canaan again? I
Yeah,
thought it
was
was in
wondering
Israel.
if it's a question or something.
So the reason I brought that up, right? They're actually sacrificing Israel before it was named Israel. It was Canaan. They were actually sacrificing there.
Yes,
You guys
right.
ever thought of that?
Yes, we see it in Genesis chapter 17. Sorry, in Genesis chapter 12, from I think Genesis chapter 12 to Genesis chapter not 17, but I think it's from Genesis chapter 12. Um, from sometime after Genesis chapter 12. We saw Abraham sacrificing when he was offering the birds, when he offered the meat and the birds came down to eat up the meat and he shooed them away. And we saw that he was also offering up Isaac as a sacrifice. So yes, to answer your question, yes, Abraham was offering sacrifices in the land, even though Israel was not yet a nation.
Right. So that covers verse 3 then, brother Kana. So they were actually in that place. It wasn't the land of Israel as yet, but it was Canaan, which is still the land.
Yes.
So the land
Right.
was reserved, the land was reserved from day one for Israel, from ever since the Messiah created the heavens and the earth. That piece of land has always been special. Canaan was not supposed to be there. Right? So like
Precisely.
we give the impression that the Messiah gave Canaan's land to Israel. The reason why that happened is because Canaan were trespassers. They were land thieves. There are at least 4 curses piled up against Canaan because Noah cursed him, Canaan cursed himself, Japheth and Ham and Shem cursed him. Right? So that's what? 5? Why was he cursed so many times? Because they all took an oath that to whichever of them the land fell, right? The various areas that the land fell, they would take up possession of their lands. Canaan was the only one. Remember that Canaan is also the child of incest. He's the only one that broke his oath that he had taken, that he would take possession where the lot fell. His lot would have fallen over what we know today as Northwest Africa, where Morocco is. That's where Canaan was supposed to be. The French have been controlling that area for, I don't know how long, but for quite a few years, right? So that is where Canaan should have gone. Israel is a descendant of Shem, and the land of Israel that was called Canaan because Canaan named it after himself. That is how it came to be called Canaan. That is why the Most High told Israel to kill all of them, because they had transgressed the law from the time of Noah. And we're not supposed to be there. Canaan was just had a covetous eye, saw how beautiful and glorious the land is that was reserved for Israel from even the foundations of the earth. They were not supposed to be there. Why? Because it is a holy land. Canaan went there and defiled it. And so when Israel came out of Egypt, in order to take possession of it. You saw what they went through. Canaan, the 11 tribes of Canaan were not willing to give it up. So this is why the Mosai told Israel to kill all of them, get rid of all of them. And we know that that was not fulfilled because Israel sinned while they were there. So the whole thing of ridding the land of the Canaanites was never complete. Israel got cast out, and Tyre and Zidon were still there, which are Canaanite tribes. And there were others that were still there as well. They did not get rid of all of them. Israel ended up leaving the land, and some of the Canaanites, I would say evidence of that with the Canaanite woman when the Messiah was speaking to her when she wanted help for her daughter. Right. So anyway, yeah, just wanted to point to that kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Yes, brother. Absolutely. Thanks for the breaking down, man. You have anything else, Elias?
No, it wasn't sure if it was unmuted.
All right.
No, carry on.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Okay, so verse 4, yes. Jubilees 22, verse 4. And he offered, and I'm going to read back from 3. And in those days, Ishmael came to see his father, and both came together. And Isaac offered sacrifice for a burnt offering and presented it on the altar of his father, which he had made in Hebron. Verse 4. And he offered a thank offering and made a feast of joy before Ishmael, his brother. And Rebekah made new cakes from the new grain and gave them to Jacob, her son, to take them to Abraham, his father, from the first fruit of the land, and he might eat and bless the Creator of all things before he died. So this is one of the way how they kept that feast. You see where Rebecca make bake cakes, make new cakes from the new grain of that when they reap that whatever they harvest, whatever grain that was. So that was new, fresh grain. That
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yes.
Right, so before you go, thanks for pointing that out, because on this feast day, this particular Sabbath, we can use our stove. We can light fire. There is nothing in Leviticus 23 that forbids us from lighting the fire on this day. So I forgot to point that out when we were in Leviticus chapter 23. But since you highlighted it here, it's here important to highlight it.
Yes.
We are not forbidden from lighting the fire on this Sabbath day. Well, go ahead, Brother Gana.
Yes, brother. Yes. Yeah, man. This is considered a high Sabbath where you could use. You just cannot work or any work, no work whatsoever. But preparing a meal, absolutely, prepare a meal. But you cannot go out and buy that whatever you're gonna be prepared. Whatever is gonna be prepared, you cannot go out and buy it on that day. You have to have it in your possession. And yes, you could definitely kindle a fire. So let's move up to verse 5 because we're gonna go to 7. And Isaac too sent by the hand of Jacob to Abraham a best thank offering, and that he might eat and drink. And he eat and drink and drank and blessed the Most High Elohim, who hath created heaven and earth, who hath made all the fat things of the earth, and giving them to the children of men, that they might eat and drink and bless the Creator. So in all things, on all things we have to give thanks to the Most High. He's the Creator. He gives us everything we will ever need. And this is one of the things here that Abraham was giving thanks and bless the Most High. Let me read about verse 6 again. And he eat and drank and blessed the Most High Elohim, who hath created heaven and earth, who hath made all the fat things of the earth, and given them to the children of men, that they might eat and drink and bless their Creator. Verse 7, and now I give thanks unto you, my Elohim, because you hath caused me to see this day. Behold, I am 103 score, 103 score and 15 years, 175 years, an old man, and full of days, and all my days have been unto me peace. Yes. What is life without peace, man? Miserable. Peace. This man had peace for all those years. And that is a thing in our life that if we have peace, we have everything, man. I'm telling you. Peace. Peace be with you, my brothers. Yes. And that is it, man. I don't know if you have anything to say on these brothers. Please go ahead.
We still haven't gotten the date as yet. So you could carry on, Kana. Or, yeah, carry on.
Oh, so wait, so you say continue down or go to, we still have,
No, to continue.
Jubilees.
Continue. Yeah,
Okay,
continue what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay,
Continue what you're
all
doing.
right, so let's go to Jubilees 44. So this is talking about something here. Jubilees 44. From verse 1 here. Here the top here says, Jacob celebrates the feast of first fruits, and encouraged by a vision goes down to Egypt. So let's see, verse 1. Excuse me. And Israel took his journey from Haran, from his house on the new moon of the third month. All right. So this is what Elias was asking about here. All right, on the third month, and he went on the way of the well, of the oath. And he offered a sacrifice to Elohim of his father, Isaac, on the 7th of this month. So that was a week before. And verse 2, and Jacob remembered the dream that he had seen at Bethel, and he feared to go down into Egypt. Verse 3, Jubilee 44, verse 3. And while he was thinking of sending word to Joseph to come to him, and that he would not go down. He remained there 7 days, if preference or perchance he would see a vision as to whether he should remain or go down. So, so this was when I guess this was when Joseph, when his brother went down into Egypt to buy grain, and they came back and give Isaac the news, Jacob the news that Joseph wanted to come down there. So now he was feared, to go down in Egypt, because these righteous men, they don't really pick up and go because somebody invited them. They always inquire to the Most High, before they make any move. So this is what was taking place. Verse 4, and he celebrated the harvest festival of the first fruit with old grain. For in all the land of Canaan there was not a handful of seed in the land, for the famine was over all the beasts and cattle and birds, and also over man. And verse 5, and on the 16th Yah appeared unto him, and said unto him, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said unto him, I am Elohim of your fathers, Elohim of Abraham, Elohim of Isaac. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of you a great nation. I will go down with you, and I will bring you up again, and in this land shall you be buried, and Joseph shall put his hand upon your eyes. Yeah, this is a long verse here. So Joseph shall put his hands upon your eyes. So Joseph will see him. Can we expand on this verse? Verse 5 here.
Guys, can you hear me? Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to keep doing this. Verse 5 is basically saying, on the 16th day, so we go from verse 4. And it says, and he celebrated the harvest festival of the first fruits with old grain. So he's saying here, he kept the feast of first fruits with old grain. So we see here in verse 4, Jacob is keeping the feast of first fruits. For in all the land of Canaan, there was not a handful of seed, because we know there was a famine at this particular time in the land. For the famine was over all the beasts and cattle and birds, and also over man. So he kept the feast of first fruits with the old grain because it was a famine. So verse 5 says, and on the 16th, which is the next day, Yah appeared unto him and said to him, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said unto him, I am the Elohim of thy father, the Elohim of Abraham and Isaac. Fear not to go down to Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. So basically in verse 5 is saying that the next day the Mosai spoke to Jacob and told him, well, you go down to Egypt, don't fear. He's going to make a great nation out of him, meaning Israel, in Egypt, which we know happened. Israel multiplied in Egypt. So basically here in 4, we see Jacob keeping the feast of first fruits. And we know from earlier this was the 3rd month. So verse 1, Israel took the journey from Hiram from his house on the new moon of the 3rd month. So this is verse 4. He kept the feast of first fruits on the first one, in the 3rd month, and then the next day, which was the 15th, which made the verse 4 the 15th. So he would have kept it the 15th of the 3rd month. So go ahead, Azrael. I've got something to say as well.
Yeah, you want me to do what?
No, we're saying you could go ahead if you have something to say as well.
No, I'm not hearing you properly. I mean, you want me to expound on verse from verse 4 to 6?
No, we're saying if you have something to say, feel free to go ahead.
Oh no, man. There was only one thing I wanted to back up with. But I guess we can finish off this first and then we can go back to that. But verses 4 to 6 are basically self-explanatory. It just basically means what it says, you know.
Yes. So we have, by going back to the chapter 6, Kana. So let me just go back. Can you hear me, right? Yeah.
Hold on a minute.
Yes,
Okay, so you, because we was gonna finish off with verse 8 here.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Let me finish.
Oh, you were
Let me
finished.
finish off with verse 8. No, hold on. Because we still have more information down here as to the day. So now that was verse 5. It says, "Fear not, go down into Egypt." Verse 6, and verse 7. And his son rose up, and his son's sons, and they placed their father. They placed their father, their possessions upon wagons, and Israel rose up from the well of of the oath on the 16th of this 3rd month, and he went to the land of Egypt. So verse 8 telling you that, as the brother says, pretty much self-explanatory. And it says, and Israel rose up from the well of the oath on the 16th day of this 3rd month, and he went to the land of Egypt. And Israel is, so we could start at verse 8. So, yeah, man, I just wanted to highlight that, and the date part of it, when he went down into Egypt.
Yes. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man, so now you could go back to verse 6, yeah.
So the whole point of this was to show that before Israel went into the land, this feast, as we read, was observed, and it was of a double nature. It was a feast of first fruits and the feast of ingathering. So it's a double nature. And we, as all we read so far, we're supposed to keep it through all our generations in all our dwellings. But we visit Leviticus 23 from verse 10, and we see that Leviticus was slated when we get into the land, and we have the priest to bring the sheep to the priest, and he leave it on your behalf before Yah, and then you count 7 Sabbaths, and then you count 50 days. This is how it was to be done. And then you make sacrifices and everything. But we know we can't do that. It would be unlawful to do that. We don't have the priest today. We are not in the land. So we went and we saw that this feast was kept even before Israel God into the land, and we see the date that this feast was kept. Reason we come back to chapter 6 is Noah. So it says, and on the new moon of the 3rd month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on the mountain. And he made atonement for the earth, and took a kid and made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth. For everything that had been on it had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark of Noah. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox, and a goat, and a sheep, and kids, and salt, and a turtle dove, and the young of the dove, and placed a burnt offering on the altar, and poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, and sprinkled wine, and showed frankincense over everything, and caused a goodly savor to arise acceptable before Yah. So this is Noah making the sacrifice in the 3rd month. And Yah smelt the goodly savor, and he made a covenant with him that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seedtime and harvest, should never cease. Cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not change their order, nor cease forever. So here is, I'll read that again. And Yah smelt the goodly savor, and he made a covenant. So the Mosai made a covenant with him. Who's him? Noah. That there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seedtime and harvest, should never cease. Cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not change their order, nor cease forever. Verse 5. And you increase ye and multiply upon the earth, and become many upon it, and be a blessing upon it. The fear of you and the dread of you I will inspire in everything that is on earth and in the sea. So this is Moses giving Noah instructions. Verse 6. And behold, I have given unto you all beasts and all winged things, and everything that moves in the earth, and the fish in the water, and all things for food, as the green herb I have given you all things to eat. But flesh with the life thereof, with the blood, ye shall not eat. For the life of all flesh is in the blood, lest your blood of your lives be required. At the hand of every man, at the hand of every beast will I require the blood of man. Verse 8. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he man. And you increased ye and multiply on the earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that was in any flesh. And he made a covenant before Yah Elohim forever through all the generations of the earth in this month. So this is still the 3rd month. Verse 11. On this account he spake to thee, that thou should make a covenant with the children of Israel in this month. Still speaking about the 3rd month. Upon the mount of the oath, with the oath, sorry, upon the mount with an oath, and that thou shouldest sprinkle blood upon them because of all the words of the covenant which Yah made with them forever. So the covenants were made forever. And this testimony is written concerning you, that you should observe it continually, so that you should not eat on any day any blood of beast or birds or cattle during all the days of the earth. And the man who eats the blood of beast and of cattle or of birds during all the days of the earth, he and his seed shall be rooted out of the land. So you see here, he's speaking to Moses now, and he's making the same covenant about the blood with that he made with Noah. In the same third month, he's doing the same thing with Moses here. And do command the children of Israel to eat no blood, so that their names and their seed may be before Yah, your Elohim, continually. And for this law there is no limit of days, for it is forever. They shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf with blood before the altar. Every day at the time of morning and evening, they shall seek forgiveness on your behalf perpetually before Yah, that they may keep it and not be rooted out. And he gave to Noah and his sons a sign that there should not again be a flood on the earth. He set his bow in the clouds for a sign for the eternal covenant, that there should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it all the days of the earth. So all of this he did with Noah in the third month. At this feast, he set a bow in the cloud for a sign of an eternal covenant. So the rainbow was given as a sign. You know what a sign does? Point out. So the rainbow is a sign of the eternal covenant that he will not flood this earth and destroy it again, is what is saying here. It says, for this reason it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets, that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. So this covenant must be renewed. What covenant? We just read it in verse 16. He set his bow in the clouds for a sign of an eternal covenant, that there should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it all the days of the earth. For this reason, it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets, that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. So this is why we must celebrate this once a year in the third month, because we are renewing the covenant that the Most High gave to Noah by setting his bow as a sign for this eternal covenant, that he will not destroy the earth with a flood again. So this is one of the importance that we today must keep this feast. Verse 18. And this whole festival was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation till the day of Noah. And we started at verse 18, so we covered that already. So this is why it's so important that we keep this feast today, as it says, throughout our generations forever. Because this feast, we are renewing the covenant that the Most High made with Noah, not to destroy this earth again with a flood. It is an eternal covenant. So, brothers, you have it.
Yeah, man. Yes, brother. So right. This is definitely something we have to do, and we see it here. But I would just want to highlight verse 4, Jubilee 6, verse 4, because I have a question. It says, "And Yah smell the goodly savor, and he made a covenant with him, that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all that day, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest should never cease, cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever." So the question is, how we fit climate change into this here, you know?
Simple. Climate change does not exist.
Exactly. So whole climate change is a big thing today, because this is what we're looking at verse 4 here, and it says it should not change. It says, and day and night should not. Well, none of this order here. Verse 4, and Yah smelled the goodly savor, and he made a covenant with him, that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth. And that's a promise. That all the days of the earth, seed time, the harvest should never cease. Cold and heat, we still have cold time, we still have in the season, we still have hot time, and summer and winter, day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever, until he said so. So, this climate change is a big hoax. They're trying to rivet into people's mind that it's climate change and we have to do this and they have to do that and all these things, which is a big, big hoax. So I don't know how this is possible, but they have climate change into this. Yes, Azariah, go ahead, brother, if any addition.
No, don't have any addition on this. What I wanted to back up to, there was something that said, oh, in Jubilees, hold on there. In Jubilees chapter 6 and 21, right? Where it says, for it is the Feast of Weeks. It is the Feast of Weeks and the Feast of First Fruits. This feast is twofold and of a double nature. Right? When it says that it is the Feast of Weeks and the Feast of First Fruits, it's really talking about the same thing. Hold on a minute, let me show you something. Hold on a minute. All right, so chapter 6 and verse 21, right, says that for it is the feast of weeks and the feast of first fruits. This feast is twofold of a double nature. All right, here's my understanding of it, Elias. Can I jump over to chapter 22 of Jubilees? We're looking at verse 1. All right, the middle part of verse 1. 22 and verse 1. It says, in the first week, in the 44th Jubilee, in the second year, that is the year in which Abraham died, Isaac and Ishmael came from the well of the oath to celebrate the Feast of Weeks, which is the Feast of the First Fruits of the Harvest. It's actually telling you, it's giving you a better description of what the Feast of Weeks is. It says that the Feast of Weeks, which is the Feast of the First Fruits of the Harvest. Chapter 6 and verse 21 says, for it is the Feast of Weeks and the First Fruits of Harvest. It's not really saying it's two different feasts or that is the double meaning. Let me share with you what I think the double meaning is, although there's a little anomaly there as well. That's what I'm going to point out, right? But we go over to Exodus 23. Yeah, Exodus 23 and 16. The Feast of First Fruits, right? Yes, it is a Feast of First Fruits. But the feast, what is actually observed is the first and the last harvest. First harvest for the year and the last harvest for the year. Both of those are observed in Israel. So verse 16 of Exodus 23 says, and the Feast of Harvest, Feast of First Fruits, just like we see it in Jubilees chapter 6 and verse 21. The Feast of, well, not the exact thing. It's not verbatim, but and the Feast of Harvest, first fruits of your labors. And Jubilees 6 and 21 says, for the Feast of Weeks, the first fruits of your harvest, right? It's basically the same thing. It's just different names for the same feast. So verse 16 says, and the Feast of Harvest, first fruits of your labors, which you have sown in the field, and the Feast of Ingathering. You don't hear a lot of Israelites talk about the Feast of Ingathering. They will tell you about the Feast of Tabernacles. Right? But just like how the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened bread run consecutively, one day after another. And I know that we had this discussion before, right? But the Feast of Tabernacles and the Feast of Ingathering run simultaneously. Right? Those two run simultaneously. But I believe that when Jubilee 6 and 21 says that this feast is twofold and of a double nature, I believe it is talking about the first and the last feast of the year in Israel. So connected to the Feast of Harvest, which is the first fruits, there's another feast connected to it that is related to the last harvest in the year that is called the Feast of Ingathering. So both of them, I believe, have spiritual meanings. For the Feast of Ingathering, which is in the end of the year, it really points to the gathering of the 12 tribes of Israel. Because when you gather your harvest from out of the fields, you place it in a barn. Isaiah said that he would gather the 12 tribes of Israel from the four corners of the earth. That's the last harvest. And after that last
And that's the double nature. That's where you find the double nature, brother. Right?
That is my understanding. I mean,
I mean, it makes sense when you put it that way, the first and then the last, which is the ingathering.
Yeah.
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 So that's where you find the double nature.
Yes.
I think, yeah. I think
Right. So the
it much
first,
clearer.
yeah, all of these holy days, right, have very deep spiritual meanings, right? We saw where Israel in that first harvest, we can look at it that way, that Israel was gathered from Egypt, that first gathering. You know, there were other gatherings when Israel came out of captivity, when the enemies, the various enemies had their foot on our necks. But this feast is twofold and of a double nature. I'm just saying, right, that I believe that it has to do with the Feast of Harvest and the Feast of Ingathering. So the Feast of Ingathering and the Feast of Tabernacles run simultaneously. The ordinance for both of them is exactly the same. And we see that in Leviticus chapter 23. We see that in Leviticus chapter 23 from verses 39 down to verse 42. So when a farmer gathers his crops from the field, he places them in his barn. The Messiah said the same thing. A couple of his parables, in one or two of his parables, he had given a parable about a farmer gathering his crops and placing them in his barn. So the barn that these crops, this last harvest, which is Israel, is going to be placed in, that barn is the land of Israel, where the Mosiah says that nobody shall make you afraid anymore, right? And we'll have the covenant of shalom. We know all the blessings and the promises that the scriptures speak about. So I believe that that is the twofold nature of this feast of first fruits that is being spoken of here. Right? I hear from you, Kana. I know. I don't know what Elias might have to say about it.
I will have to look into that. That's one of our things I have to look into.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, man, no problem. Um, so for it is the Feast of Weeks and the Feast of First Fruits. This feast is twofold of a double nature. Right? So when it says the Feast of Weeks and the Feast of First Fruits, it's not really talking about two different things. It's really the same thing. It's just an explanation, a deeper explanation of what it is. Right? As we saw a while ago. Chapter 22. This Elias, as we saw a while ago in chapter 22 and verse 1.
Right. So my thinking there is not that it's two separate feasts, but my thinking there, this is what I got to look into it, is that it is of double nature, which means it has two different meanings, not that they're two different feasts. So we see one of the feasts, one of the reasons here is to renew the covenant with Noah, that he wouldn't flood the earth with a flood. But then we see that this feast was observed in heaven from the beginning. So this is when I hear of double nature, this is where my mind goes in terms of the Feast of Weeks and the Feast of First Fruits. Same feast, not two different feasts, but it has double nature because it represents two different things. So this way too, I will have to look into it. But all praise to the Most High, definitely.
Yeah, man. Thanks for that, Elias. And that might very well be so, you know. Um, you want to give me back the passage that The part about it being connected to the rainbow. Just remind me of that.
That's Jubilees chapter 6. Can't remember which verse. uh, uh,
Verse Ghana.
I think that's about 16 or 17. I think it's around verse 16 or 17.
Hold on there. Oh, hold on a minute.
Yeah, man, it's verse 16.
Yes, verse 16. Yeah, verse
Yeah, man.
16.
Mm.
So just for the sake of recording, so we saw, because we're going to cut it here and we're going to continue this discussion, but we saw that this feast was celebrated and observed before Israel did it in the land. And we see it was done in the middle of the third month. We see that it has some significant meaning to it. And so we definitely have to keep this feast, but we are not in the land, so we cannot keep it, as we see in Leviticus 23, because that law in Leviticus 23 is very specific to the land, and the priests have to be there to do the time frame. But now we keep it, seeing that we're not in the land, just as our ancestors kept it before Israel went into the land and become a nation. They kept it in the middle of the third month, and this is why today we keep it in the middle of the third month. So, Azariah Kana, you have the last say before we end the recording. Go ahead.
No, man, that's it. I don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, me neither.
All
Yeah, man,
praises.
all you said, your sums it up already, so that's good. All praises to the Most High. Yeah.
That's all praises to the Most High. So be blessed.